Welcome to Horrify.world's Madness Marathon. To celebrate Halloween, the Horrify.world crew has made the Madness Marathon Halloween calendar. Every day we open a door, and behind every door is a recommendation for a free horror game that you should play. 31 days, 31 recommendations, hours of fun. And on the 31st, we have a special surprise for you. But enough talk, let's see what hides behind today's door.
Oh yeah, it's that time of year again. Pumpkin spice is back, the 12-foot Home Depot skeletons are returning to nature, and the weather's finally breezy enough to throw on flannels or cozy sweaters without regard for that great big ball of fire that haunts me so. You know, after being locked up in the editing bunker for so long, the outside really doesn't seem all that bad. Oh, what the hell is this now? Oh, god damn it, not again! Who needs the outside anyway? You guys ever hear about video games? Total Chaos is a total conversion mod for Doom 2 that kicks incredible amounts of ass, and is one of the most impressive little projects I've happened across in a hot second. It comes to us from mod creator Wadaholic, who you might recognize as the person who would go on to make Turbo Overkill. Yes, that Turbo Overkill. It takes the base foundation of Doom 2 running through GZ Doom and more or less completely changes the tone, the feel, and even the entire gameplay loop, creating something entirely new altogether. It feels more akin to like Condemned or a survival horror game than it does Doom, and let me tell you, as somebody who really enjoys Condemned, it's good to see something try and actually utilize that same sort of grimy, claustrophobic setting effectively. It does a remarkable job building atmosphere and creating an environment in which you never really feel safe. I mean, there's not even the soothing sounds of a Resident Evil save room to reassure you between encounters within this nightmare. Around every corner is a fresh new horror straight out of my nightmares, each one more off-putting than the last. A lot of this fear and tension is also helped by the baller-as-hell sound design and the off-putting animation for some of the designs that consistently serve to remind you whatever you're facing ain't human no more. If you watched my Northern Journey review, you already know my opinions on spiders, and this game isn't really doing much to help me not fear those creepy crawly bastards. I nearly pissed myself when I fell down a hole and landed directly into the nest of these horrific monstrosities. No bueno, por favor. I do not like this one bit. The combat, as mentioned before, is tense as all hell. Calling every encounter high risk doesn't really do enough justice to the fact that all it takes to kill you is a few hits from the monsters that litter the island. It takes some time to settle into the rhythm of things. That little stamina meter is the most important thing in the game, and learning how to properly utilize your dodges or heavy attacks is key to your survival. Something I didn't pick up on until way too late into the game. That and, of course, learning to scrounge around for supplies as much as possible. Every little piece of health you recover is something you have to fight tooth and nail for, so playing it safe is the name of the game here. I wouldn't really call the combat exactly great, but, you know, I don't mind it. It took some getting used to, sure, but once you get into the swing of things, I really didn't mind the clunky combat, the janky as hell hitboxes, and the punishing combat rooms full of enemies that kill you almost instantly. Then again, maybe I just have Stockholm Syndrome at this point. Who could say, really? To give you a frame of reference, this game is good enough that I'm even willing to put up with a hunger meter, and let me tell you, I think including this meter in a game decreases its score for me drastically by default. But here it never really feels like it gets that annoying. After all, stocking up on supplies is easy when you have as much experience digging through trash cans and breaking and entering as I do. By the end of the game as well, it does a lot to make you feel empowered, just like a good old classic Resident Evil game. Except in this case, instead of giving you a rocket launcher, all it has to do is give you an assault rifle, and you feel like God. Of course, even with that, inventory management is key, as it should be in any good survival horror game. You can lift 180 pounds, and that's it. The more heavy weapons you have, the less you can carry, and the slower you move, so you have to only take the essentials. Sure, you can be a walking tank if you get every stashed away weapon and round of ammunition you find on the ground, but will you still have room for food and healing items? Not very much, if any at all. Oh, and a piece of advice for fellow ghouls. Don't forget throwables. They're like way stronger than you think they are, at least the bricks and the glass bottles. They do a pretty hefty amount of damage to an enemy's life bar and can, in some cases, one-shot an enemy, so just be aware of that. I don't really want to go too far into it, but I should at least quickly mention the story. You arrive at an island called Fort Oasis, following a nasty storm out on the sea, only to find its once bustling shores now inhabited by deformed creatures that all want to clap your cheeks. Your goal is to escape the island and maybe find out what the hell happened here along the way. To help with all that, a voice over a radio tries to direct you across the island and, presumably, to safety. Being the only other living soul on the island that doesn't want to kill you immediately, it seems reasonable enough to trust whoever it is for now. Well, not the best thing ever, it's definitely not a bad story at all. I found it fairly engaging at least. The environments are all really cool, and the notes you find along the way, or the little bits of dialogue you exchange with the mysterious stranger on the other end of that radio, do a lot to help build the world with very little. Too bad, whenever the radio man talks, he sounds exactly like Jerma doing a Jigsaw impression, and I can't unhear it. Come on, man, you can't tell me I'm wrong here, alright? Just listen to that. Look, you're not gonna get the best writing in the universe or anything off this Doom 2 mod, but it's good enough for the job it needs to do, and honestly, that's all it needs to be. Honestly, they could have put much less work into this thing than it has, and it still probably would have been great, so I appreciate the extra mile. Needless to say, I think what it's got going on is fairly engaging, given that it more or less just exists to encourage exploration of multiple pretty well put together areas that, while confusing at first, end up being filled with so many neat shortcuts and hidden secrets that you really can't help but to get to know them pretty well. Which is for the best, seeing as there rarely is ever a map in sight except for like the very first 2 chapters of the game, and even then they're pretty hard to read, so, you know, shit out of luck if you get lost, I guess. Just try exploring until you manage to find your way forward. There was more than a few times where I lost where the hell I was supposed to be going, so don't worry. If you suddenly space out thinking about the night before and can't find out where the hell you're supposed to go next, you can at least rest assured knowing another soul has spent 30 minutes bashing their head against a wall before realizing you could jump down in this exact spot in Chapter 2 to progress. For real though, particularly this section and the ones following it, I just can't get over how many cool shortcuts and paths there are you unlock, and how many secrets and hidden areas just lie slightly obscured from view. Take your time to comb through everything here. It's worth it, I promise. If you see a door you can't unlock conventionally, take a moment and look around. There's almost always another way in. I've kind of been trying to walk around the topic gently and not get too far into explaining just how off the goddamn deep end this thing goes, but if you still need a sales pitch, let me explain something. Not only is this game running off a converted GZ Doom engine, not only have entirely new systems and entire genres of gameplay been made for this thing, it also has the sheer audacity to be a whole goddamn 20-hour game with a branching path leading to multiple endings. And this thing gets wild. Real wild. I've only shown up until the 4th chapter, but there are a grand total of 6 chapters in the entire game, the last 2 of which diverge and become a lot more varied. I'm telling you, by the time the end of this game rolls around, things really go tits up. You go from beating fools with pipes and sticks and cramped hallways to being a walking arsenal in spooky forests and dealing with all sorts of flesh monsters from my nightmares. The full range of settings, weapons, and enemies that you'll be encountering here actually varies a lot more than what I'm showing, but I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise. Needless to say, it is impressive just how much is on offer here. This is a full-ass video game. Calling it a mod at this point almost feels reductive when every element of the game is made up of unique parts. It's its own complete experience through and through. Total Chaos does not just feel like another game, it feels like total chaos. And that's a pretty positive thing for a mod to achieve, in my book. Finally, on the grand gamer scale that my corporate overlords have forced me to abide by, I give Total Chaos a solid 8 out of 13. This game blasts rope and is something I've been a fan of for a very long time. Total Chaos is straight baller in my mind. I think this is genuinely one of the best survival horror experiences in the modern generation, and while it is clunky and weird and obtuse in a lot of ways, once you adjust to it, there's a lot to love here. Between the tense and engaging risky combat and the expansive and impressive open levels packed full of secrets, I just can't help but adore this little thing. There's just so much charm put into it, you know? So much talent and effort put into converting the GZ Doom engine, an engine entirely made for boomer shooters, into this. It's so impressive, honestly. Like, every hour or so while playing and I remember that somehow this thing runs off the Doom engine, and the tech wizardry at work here stuns me all over again. Sure, at first the survival meters really turned me off. I'm sure the fact that this game has them might very well turn you off too. But trust me, it all sort of evens out towards the end and it really becomes like second nature. You hardly even notice it's there after a while. Food is a lot less annoying than I thought due to how plentiful it is. Same with bandages to heal the constant bleeding status effect that you're going to get in the first 2 chapters or so. Well, you still have to scrounge for weapons, ammo, and health. The bandages and food are just plentiful enough that while I struggled at first, towards the end of my run my pockets were just filled to the brim with baked beans, moldy sandwiches, and questionable meat of unknown origin. Whatever. It can't really be worse than whatever the hell's in the beef at Taco Bell anyway. Anyway, this game rules. Go play it already, would ya? It's free and everything. I'll even include the link below to download it directly from ModDB. It's got a standalone launcher and everything for you, all set and ready to go. There's also a remake coming down the line, so now's probably the best time to get in and try it so you can say you were cool before it was cool to know what Total Chaos is. Oh, and hey, if you like this guy's work, you can also check out Turbo Overkill. I mentioned it before, but that game kicks ass, though it's a completely different tone. And, you know, if you like my work, you could also, subscribe to me, and maybe, you know, if you're feeling it, maybe you can hit that like button, and perhaps even comment on the video, maybe tell me that you enjoyed it. All I really know is, for now, the algorithm is a cruel mistress, but one day I will tame it. That is a promise. Also, I just want to give a shout out to Horrify.world, a hub of other creators from across the wire that all have a particularly spooky vibe. Think of it as your one-stop shop for all things horror. They actually asked me to put this together as part of their Madness Marathon, an advent calendar of curated free horror experiences made by other horror creators from around the web. I'll toss a link in the description here, but I really recommend checking out the site. It's a really nice hub for all things spooky, and helping it grow is something that benefits us all in the long run. After all, we can't trust Google to let freaks like me run around here saying whatever we want forever. For now though, ghouls, it's the end of my time here. This was supposed to be 10 minutes long. Wanna bet it's gonna be twice that? Regardless, happy Halloween, ghouls! Stay safe out there, and remember to leave the lights on tonight. After all, you never know what could be hiding in the shadows.
I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've enjoyed the game in the video. Remember to go visit Horrify.world tomorrow and every day after for the remainder of October. You know, to see what other great free games are out there. From all of us here at Horrify.world, stay extra spooky during this month and take care.